Revealed, how a CEO dad and his 6-year-old daughter transformed a homeless mother's life. Michael was the kind of dad you saw in movies, the devoted CEO who juggled board meetings by day and played catch with his little girl every Saturday morning. At 42, he built a comfortable life in a suburban Chicago neighborhood. Under the sun, with Emma laughing and running after the ball, they were the quintessential American family complete with dreams sketched out in imaginary rainbows. But one evening, scrolling through social media, he stumbled upon a post from a local shelter in dire need of volunteers. Dismissing it as merely a distraction, he almost forgot it until Emma's innocent question pierced through the mundane, "Daddy, can we help people too?" That innocent inquiry clung to his conscience like a nagging itch, and suddenly, the idea of lending a hand didn't seem so far-fetched. They made the decision to spend an afternoon at that shelter, stepping into a reality so starkly different from their life. As they pulled into the parking lot, shaking off the remnants of their privilege, they found themselves enveloped in a world brimming with stories of hardship. They were met with tired souls, mothers cradling babies, children with wide, hopeful eyes, their laughter a bittersweet reminder of unfulfilled dreams. That's when Michael met Grace, a single mother, her spirit still fighting fiercely through the weariness etched in her features. As he watched Emma bond with Grace's son over cookies, sharing giggles and dry cereal like it was the world's finest delicacy, a warmth bubbled up inside him. Yet, it was tainted with a bitter urgency. How could they live in a city filled with so much joy and laughter while others fought mere survival? Michael, motivated by Emma's connection to Grace's young son, felt a spark of purpose ignite within him. If he could lend his expertise to help Grace land a job, they could make a real difference, right? They worked together on her resume, building her confidence, nurturing hope like delicate flowers in spring, every laugh and cheer resonating like music in their hearts. But just when things seemed to brighten, disaster struck. A crucial interview slipped through Grace's fingers due to a misinformation fiasco. When Michael learned she missed it, everything inside him twisted painfully. Had he been wrong to believe in self-reliance? What if offering a handout would have been better than this reliance on resilience? He wrestled with the uncomfortable notions of merit and justice he'd championed for years. In a moment of raw vulnerability, he held Emma, watching tears pool in her innocent eyes as Grace broke down in devastation. The truth hung heavy in the air that day. The white picket fence of their perfect life seemed less meaningful now as the reality of unfairness crashed upon them. What does success mean when so many get left behind? Michael asked himself, holding the weight of shared silence thick as fog. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Grace sobbed, eyes swollen with uncertainty, Michael made a promise to himself. He would find a way to foster change not just for Grace, but for all those overlooked in the race for success. He felt a collective fire ignite within him. Could they all rise together? The question echoed in their hearts, setting the stage for a journey none of them had expected. Days passed after that painful afternoon. The weight of unfulfilled promises still hung in the air like a dense fog. Michael could barely focus on his work. Every board meeting felt like a blur. His mind kept drifting back to Grace and her son, their hopes intertwined like threads of a fraying rope. Emma noticed her father's distraction. "Daddy, when are we helping Grace again?" she asked one evening while they prepared dinner together. Her bright, curious eyes sparkled, unaware of the worry that settled in her father's heart. Michael knelt down, brushing hair behind her ear. "Soon, sweetheart. I promise." But deep down, he wasn't sure how to make that promise a reality. That weekend, determined to uplift Grace, Michael and Emma returned to the shelter. The atmosphere buzzed with a faint kind of hope, yet it felt different, as if the shadows of despair lingered longer. He spotted Grace, sitting on a bench, her eyes lost somewhere beyond the day. The moment Grace noticed them, her face illuminated, if only briefly. "Michael. Emma!" she exclaimed, the warmth of her voice shaking off the chill of hardship. In that little exchange, all the troubles seemed to lift, however momentarily. Emma dashed over to Grace and her son, laughter erupting as they embraced. "Can we play a game?" Emma asked, eyes bright with the unfiltered joy only children possess. As they played in the shelter's backyard, Michael watched. The scene stirred something within him. Here, laughter mingled with the scent of damp grass, reminding him of simpler days. Each smile exchanged between the children felt like a thread stitching together a fractured tapestry of lives, and that feeling became his fuel. But as the joy surged, tears threatened to break within Michael. He couldn't ignore the reality, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on Grace. He had to act. "Grace," he started, his voice steady yet gentle. "I know it's tough right now. But I want to help you get back on track. We can work together again. This time, we'll dig deeper." Her eyes shimmered with a glimmer of hope amidst a cloud of doubt. "But what if I mess it up again? I can't bear to disappoint you." Michael shook his head. "It's not about perfection. It's about resilience. We learn from what didn't go right. Together, we'll figure it out." Grace nodded slowly, the weight on her shoulders feeling a bit lighter. It was a small step, yet it felt monumental. Later, after games and laughter faded into the backdrop of dusk, they gathered together for dinner, the three of them sharing stories and dreams. As they spoke, Michael realized how much they had in common despite their vastly different backgrounds. Each story of hope and struggle wove them closer, binding them with invisible threads stronger than silk. But the evening paused abruptly when they heard a loud commotion outside. Voices rose angry, charged. "What is happening?" Emma's small voice cut through the tension, her innocence a beacon amidst rising anxiety. Michael felt his heart race. He exchanged a worried glance with Grace. "Stay here," he whispered, instinctively stepping toward the front door. As he opened it, a scene unfolded that unleashed a new kind of fear, one he never anticipated, threatening everything they had just begun to build. What would he do in the face of this unexpected chaos? Would their renewed hope crumble under pressure? Michael took a deep breath, emotions swirling in his chest, stepping forward into the unknown as he prepared to confront whatever would come next. Michael stood at the doorway, heart pounding in his chest. The jumbled sounds from the street felt like a storm brewing, chaotic and unpredictable. He braced himself for what lay beyond, and with each step, he felt the weight of responsibility surge even higher. Outside, heated voices collided in a chaotic clash. A group of young men shouted, their emotions palpable, twinkling with anger and frustration. As Michael looked closer, he noticed one was gesturing violently towards a nearby building, spewing words that felt like knives. "What the hell is going on?" he muttered under his breath, glancing back at Grace and Emma, now standing just inside the doorway. Their faces wore expressions of confusion, coaxing a fire of determination from deep within him. He pushed through the throng of bodies milling around, anxiety escalating. The closer he got, the more he recognized the tension building as others emerged from their homes. Worn faces, some with furrowed brows, others with disbelief, all woven together by a shared concern. "Michael." A familiar face broke through the crowd. It was Peter, the shelter director, his expression tight with alarm. "They're protesting. Some residents are upset about the shelter. They think it's bringing crime to the area." A wave of frustration rolled through Michael. He had expected challenges, but not this. "Protesting? Here? Right now?" Peter nodded, his eyes darting nervously towards the yelling crowd. "It's escalating quickly. We need to calm it before things go too far." Michael's instincts kicked in. "Let us get the kids inside," he said. He turned to Grace, her worry mirroring his own. "Stay close, okay? Emma, hold on to her hand. The two women nodded, their small size echoing innocence amid the chaos. Michael felt protective instincts flood through him, fueling his drive to shield them from the storm swirling outside. As he turned back to the gathering throng, he took a breath and approached the group, determined to find a voice that could unite rather than divide. "Hey!" he shouted, projecting his voice, the fire inside him igniting. "Let us talk about this." Heads turned, confused looks punctured the anger swirling in the air. For a moment, silence stretched, broken only by the sound of Michael's pounding heart. "Listen to me," he continued, trying to meet their eyes one by one, connecting soul to soul. "I understand your frustrations, but we can't allow anger to cloud the humanity we all share. Closing the shelter would mean pushing people away, taking hope from those who have nowhere else to turn. We have to find a way to help each other." His words lingered in the air, and he caught glimpses of faces softening amidst the tension. He saw a father clutching his young daughter close. A mother with worry etched across her face. It struck him then that in this bustling community, they were all yearning for the same thing: a better life, for themselves and their loved ones. But before he could gauge their reactions, a loud voice cut through the moment, angry and accusatory. "You don't live here. What do you know about our struggles?" Michael's stomach knotted. This wasn't just about him or Grace anymore. This was about community, and he had to tread carefully. "Just because I don't live here doesn't mean I don't care," he replied, heart racing. "I see your struggles. I see that pain. And I'm here to fight with you, not against you." As murmurs rippled through the crowd, he felt his son's hand tighten around Emma's. The innocence of their connection filled him with newfound resolve. The night was thick with uncertainty, but one thing shone bright within it: the people on either side of him desired change. If only he could find a way to bridge the gap. He could sense eyes on him now, waiting, watching. Would he be the understanding voice that turned this uncertainty into conversation? Could they find common ground in the fallout of their fear? Just then, a whisper swept through the crowd, anticipation tingling in the air. "What if we can work together?" Now, a spark of hope glimmered within the storm of voices. Would they rise together, or would division tear them apart? As they looked to him for answers, Michael stood rooted in that pivotal moment, realizing that the journey ahead would demand all of his courage and perhaps include Grace and Emma in ways he never expected. What role would they play in this unfolding dialogue? Would they emerge, hand in hand, ready to shape their community's future together? Michael felt the weight of silence descend over the crowd. Faces shifted, anger simmering but uncertainty flickering in their eyes. He could feel the tension thickening, as if the air itself was charged with potential. "Listen," he said, softer now, hoping to reach the humanity buried beneath their frustration. "I know it's tough. You're worried about your families, about your homes. I get that." He met the gaze of the man who had shouted at him, saw the glint of desperation mixed with anger. "But we're not here to take anything away. We want to bring help." As he spoke, he could sense Grace and Emma stepping closer, tree roots quickening to ground themselves in this moment. Their presence provided an anchor not only for him but for many in the crowd. Children should be safe, they should feel secure, and it caused a swell of determination within him. "Let us talk about this shelter," Peter interjected, his voice spiking through the air like a gently thrown stone. "It's here to keep vulnerable families safe. Mothers, fathers, children, everyone deserves a second chance. And we can do that together." A woman stepped forward, her brow knitted tight. "But we're losing our neighborhood. We see things that scare us." Her voice trembled, revealing deeper fears beneath her accusations. "It's not just about the shelter. It's what comes with it." Michael's heart ached at her vulnerability. "I understand. I really do. You see, I was a kid once too, and I watched my own community struggle when fear ruled the streets. I've lost friends to circumstances they couldn't control." He paused, taking a breath that felt hot in his lungs. But fighting isn't the solution. His words hung in the air, stirring something in the crowd. Whispers of agreement flickered between them, but a fierce voice broke through again. So what do you propose? Just let the shelter keep growing. You think that's the solution? Hope shattered for a moment, but then, as if renewed compassion swept through him, Michael nodded. No, I don't. But what if we all got involved? What if you combined your voices and ideas with ours to find a solution together? It's about partnership, not division. The murmurs grew louder, and one by one, people began to soften. The man who had shouted initially stepped closer. You really think that could work? Absolutely, Michael replied, heart racing. When we pull together, we can brainstorm ways to make sure the shelter and the building around it feel safe. Together, let us create a better space for everyone. At that moment, Grace squeezed his hand, her small fingers conveying a silent understanding. Emma stood beside them, her innocent eyes wide with curiosity about the adults, the noise, and the struggle surrounding them. Michael looked at them both, and the unexpected strength of his family reminded him that every single piece mattered, that their involvement could make a tangible difference. It starts with all the voices in this area, including Grace and Emma. Kids like her have hopes and dreams of their own, and they deserve a safe world to grow up in. Slowly but surely, he watched the hardness fade from the residents' faces, understanding piercing through. Conversations ignited between them, disagreements morphing into something deeper, and for the first time since the protest began, it felt as if they were on the brink of bridging that gap. Michael's heart surged, hope sparkled in his chest. They might just create change, a true partnership within the community. But just as the atmosphere began to shift from hostility to collaboration, Michael felt a sudden grip on his shoulder. He turned to see Peter's worried look shifting elsewhere. Michael, Peter whispered with urgency. Look over there. The blood drained from Michael's face as he followed Peter's gaze. A black van slowly rolled down the street, and as it came into view, the tension returned in an instant. The crowd fell silent again, eyes pinned to the vehicle. What was about to unfold? Would this cloud of uncertainty break the fragile alliance they had begun to forge? The van rolled closer, its darkened windows reflecting the anxious faces of the crowd. Michael's heart raced faster now, matching the pounding noise in his ears. He could see the way people stiffened, their earlier softness retreating behind walls of tension. Hands clenched at sides, whispers filled the air like the buzz of hornets stirred from their nest. Look, let us not panic, he urged, voice strained but steady. Let us remember why we're here. The words felt fragile, but he hoped they would hold. The van came to a stop, its engine rumbling softly like a warning. His eyes darted around the crowd, searching for familiar faces, gauging their reactions. Grace, still clinging to his hand, looked up at him, her little brows knitted, concern shadowing her bright eyes. What's wrong, Daddy? She asked in a whisper, the innocence in her voice tearing at his heart. Nothing, sweetheart. Just stay close, okay? He gave her a reassuring smile, which felt like a mask he wore to hold himself together. The van doors swung open, and a man in a crisp black suit stepped out. He moved with authority but also an unsettling air of arrogance. The crowd murmured, stirring, as they recognized something in his presence that felt wrong. Good afternoon, everyone. The man called out, his voice booming, cutting through the silence like a chainsaw. I represent the city's interests, and I'm sure you've all heard some chatter about this new shelter. He gestured dismissively at the building that had become the focus of so much anxiety. A grumble rose from the crowd. The recent warmth of camaraderie felt threatened again, fading like shadows at dusk. Turn back. Someone shouted, rage bubbling again. You've taken enough from us. Michael stepped forward, heart pounding, desperation mixing with his resolve. Please, let him speak. He turned to the suited man, his voice steady. You said you represent the city. What do you want us to know? The man shot him a look, surprised but recovering quickly. We need transparency. The shelter isn't just for housing the homeless, it's a larger part of an urban plan that benefits the entire area. Benefits? A woman echoed, stepping forward defiantly. You mean business interests? Her tone was sharp like glass. Exactly. He responded, unfazed. This area will be transformed. Higher property values, new businesses. Don't you want a nice neighborhood? The crowd erupted into scattered cries of no. And you don't care about us. Michael felt the pull of tension wrap around him again, and he knew they were at a crossroads. Can we just take a step back? He urged. What if this shelter was part of something we could all discuss? A chance for those like us to share thoughts, make our voices heard. Peter nodded slowly, glancing from the man to Michael. We might be able to outline what we all want here. It's not too late. The suited man frowned, a slight tremor of irritation etched across his face. You think you can dictate terms? This is already moving forward. In a way, yes, Michael replied, the weight of his family's future resting on him. But it's your choice, proceed with plans the community hates or open the door for discussion. Real change starts when everyone is involved. A moment of silence fell. In that heartbeat, the crowd began to look at one another. They weren't alone in their fears, and suddenly, the air felt less heavy. They were united once more. As the suit stared them down, nerves twisted in Michael's stomach. Would he accept their partnership? Or was this man determined to bulldoze over their hopes, echoing the threats and darkness they feared most? The moment stretched, silence wrapping around them all. But before the tension could settle, the sound of sirens pierced through, a reminder of everything they fought against. Michael instinctively turned, knowing that the allies they once counted on could soon become adversaries. What would that mean for them? Would they be able to stand strong and united in the face of this new storm? Michael felt the ground shift beneath him. The sound of sirens was like a jolt of ice water splashed across a warm summer day. Faces around him twisted in confusion and fear, their unity wavering as panic seeped back in. Grace squeezed his hand tighter, her small fingers trembling. Stay close, he whispered, bending down to meet her gaze. No matter what happens, we're together. The suited man glanced back at the approaching sirens, his confidence starting to falter, but he quickly masked it with a smooth facade. I believe we don't need any distractions right now, he said, attempting to regain control. Let us focus on our discussion here. But the crowd was wild with discontent, words and phrases colliding in a storm of emotions. Michael could feel the energy, palpable and electric, spinning towards anger. The sirens grew louder, swelling like the tide about to crash. Peter's shoulder checked his way through the crowd, eyes blazing. What about the impact on our community? We deserve a voice. Enough of your smooth words. Michael's chest tightened. He admired Peter's fire, but were they ready for the backlash? Would their pushback lead to more division? He stepped closer, trying to project calm. Listen, everyone. We have to stay focused. This man might not hear us if we're fighting amongst ourselves. The discount of Michael's attempts washed over the gathered crowd. Some nodded, still anchored in that moment of unity they had shared just moments ago. Others, however, appeared distracted, eyes moving to the sirens that halted in the distance. Suddenly, 3 police officers jumped from their vehicle, each with a sense of urgency in their stride. They assessed the crowd and the suited man standing at the forefront, looking more like a man on trial than a representative. One officer raised a hand, and the noise simmered to an uneasy hush. Everyone, we need to talk about what's going on here. Someone called us. The officer scanned the crowd. Are we safe? A woman stepped forward, trembling but resolute. No, we're not safe. They're trying to take away our homes. This man thinks he can come here and force his plans on us, but we won't allow it. The officer raised his brow but gestured for her to explain further. The tension was back, thickening the air. Michael stood tense, watching the others around him draw closer together for support. "Listen, this isn't just about us," an older man shouted from the side. "This is about all of us. We are people, just like you. We deserve to have a say." The suited man's composure began to crack under the spotlight of the crowd and the glaring eyes of the law. The officer pressed harder, "Let us hear more about what these community concerns are. Maybe we can find a solution." The man faltered, words deserting him for a moment. As he opened his mouth, Michael felt his heart race again, the sounds around him faded, focusing him only on the immediate future. Would they turn this hard moment into a breakthrough? Could they challenge the powers that be, come together, and fight for a cause bigger than themselves? Michael squeezed Grace's hand, feeling her warmth wrap around him like a lifeline. Whatever happened next could transform everything, not just for them but for those beyond the shadows of their fears. "Daddy?" Grace asked softly, her voice cutting through his thoughts. "Are we going to win?" The question hung heavy in the air. Michael took a deep breath, looking at her innocent hope reflected in every face around him. "We have to try." Just then, the suited man, finally regaining some composure, began to speak. "Perhaps we can discuss this further," but before he could finish, a loud crash echoed from behind the crowd, catching everyone off guard. Michael turned again, anxiety creeping in as he thought just how easily hope could be shattered. What had happened? Would the moment of change be silenced? The uncertainty gnawed at him. What would come next, and who would stand to lose it all? Michael's heart raced with dread as he turned toward the sound of the crash. It reverberated through the crowd, a gut-wrenching reminder of the chaos that lurked just below the surface of their gathering. Across the street, the remnants of a wooden crate lay strewn across the pavement, and a confused man staggered back from it, eyes wide and frantic. "Get back!" yelled the cop as he rushed forward, clearly on edge. People instinctively stepped back, their earlier anger shifting to fear, uncertain of what the next moment would bring. "Daddy!" Grace clung tighter to Michael's side, her voice rising above the din. The fear in her eyes twisted his gut. He knelt down and cupped her face in his hands, trying to project calm despite the turmoil swelling around them. "It's okay, sweetheart. Just stay close." But the idea of safety felt precarious as shouts pierced through the thickening tension. The suited man tried to regain control, his voice rising above the crowd. "Everyone, let us remain calm. It's just an accident." But as his words hung in the air, it was clear that nothing felt serene. Peter fought against the tide of anxiety, pushing back against the crowd's despair. "We can't let this distract us. They're trying to divide us." His voice cracked, fierce but shaky, a reflection of the uncertainty permeating the air. Another officer joined the first, both men now trying to quell the chaos while keeping a wary eye on the suited man, who visibly shrank under the scrutiny. Michael's gaze shifted from Grace to Peter, and then back to the crowd. Faces turned to him, looking for guidance. They were ready for anything that might shift the momentum back in their favor. "Let us focus on the issues at hand." Michael's voice rang out, stronger than he felt. "This is bigger than our fear. Together, we can make a difference." He looked at Grace, her small face mirroring his hope with wide eyes. "We just have to be brave." Almost instinctively, spectators began to lift their voices, chants rising like a chorus. "Homes for everyone. We have a voice." The movement started like a ripple, weaving through the crowd, uniting them once more. With each shout, the weight atop Michael's chest began to ease, they were standing together. But just then, a piercing scream broke through the noise, redirecting everyone's south attention towards the street corner. A woman with disheveled hair stood with her hands on her head, tears streaming down her face. "They're taking my kids," she cried, her voice raw and desperate, each word slicing through the unity. Without thinking, Michael tore away from Grace. He couldn't ignore her. This woman's plea ignited something deep in him. "Stay here," he called back to Grace, his heart thundering as he stepped toward her. "Please. You have a say. You can't take them." The woman sobbed, collapsing into an officer's arms, her body racked with emotion. At that moment, Michael felt a fragile kind of clarity. It wasn't just about housing, it was about lives, real people, every one of them deserving care and compassion. As the crowd murmured, processing the painful scene unfolding, Michael turned to face them again. "This isn't just some bureaucratic issue. These are families, lives at stake. We need to stand with this woman." Beside him, Grace stood tall, her small frame embodying determination, yet shadows of worry still clouding her innocent eyes. Michael knelt beside her once more. "Whatever happens, we're fighting for them. Together." But just as their unity sparked a flicker of hope, it was abruptly interrupted by the sound of another siren wailing in the distance, louder still. The question loomed large: would they rise against the system, or would it swallow them whole? Michael's heart sank, knowing that their true battle was only just beginning. The sirens grew louder, a chilling reminder of the urgency rippling through the air. Michael strained to hear over the escalating wails, his heart hammering in his chest. He glanced back at Grace, who stood quietly, lip trembling but gaze steady. Despite her fear, there was strength in her little frame, and it ignited something deep within him. The woman, still crumpled in the officer's arms, wept freely, her cries cutting across the growing chaos. Michael could no longer turn his back. He stepped closer, allowing the distance between them to dissolve. With each step, he felt the weight of countless eyes on him, the crowd hovering between fear and solidarity, waiting for a sign of strength. "Ma'am," he said softly, crouching down to her level. "We're here for you. We won't let them take your kids." His voice trembled, but he fought against it, lifting her chin so their eyes met. "What do you need?" She wiped her tears with the back of her hand, visibly shaken. "My name is Loretta," she sputtered. "They don't understand. I'm trying my best. I need time." Michael nodded slowly, absorbing her words. "We can help you with that. But we need to make some noise. People need to know what is happening." From behind, he felt Grace join him, her small hand gripping his arm. "We do have a voice," she proclaimed, her innocence shining through like a beacon. Michael glanced back at her, astonished. Her courage inspired him. This was more than just one family's fight, it was a battle for all who felt powerless. As he turned back to Loretta, he stood, his posture shifting from uncertainty to resolve. "Can we get your story out there? If we share it with everyone, maybe we can change things." The crowd shifted, whispers rippling through like the wind swaying tall grasses. Loretta looked up at him, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "You think they'll listen?" Michael opened his mouth to respond but hesitated. "If enough of us speak up, they must listen. We have the power of many." He took a moment to collect his thoughts, then raised his voice, projecting over the murmurs of the gathering, "Who here is willing to fight for Loretta? Stand up if you believe in families staying together." One by one, hands went up. He could feel the energy pulsing through the crowd, an electric charge igniting their collective strength. Gradually, more people stepped forward, shouting their support, their anger morphing into purpose. "Don't let fear win. Don't let them silence us." Peter's voice rang out, stronger than before, stirring the crowd into a frenzy of agreement. The noise grew like a tidal wave, sweeping through them, a unified movement pushing back against the oppressive weight of indifference. Michael felt his own spirit lift with the chorus of voices. But then, just as quickly, a heavy silence fell as the wail of the siren broke through the unity, now sounding close enough to feel like a threat. A squad car rolled to a stop at the corner, officers pouring out, steely gazes scanning the crowd. Michael's heart raced again, but he held on to Grace's hand tightly. "No turning back now. Remember, we're in this together. No one fights alone. He shouted, raising his free arm in solidarity. But as police began to advance toward them, an uneasy tremor rippled beneath the surface. Would they see this community as allies or adversaries? The question loomed heavy: could their growing strength withstand the scrutiny ahead? Michael looked at Grace, whose small hand seemed to pulse with determination. Whatever happened next, they had sparked something together. Would that flame of unity withstand the storm descending upon them? The tension thickened as the police officers approached. Michael could feel the air change, weighted by uncertainty and fear. The crowd, once roaring with rage and solidarity, was now filled with hushed breaths, some shifting uneasily, others tightening their grips. Michael squeezed Grace's hand tighter, drawing strength from her small warmth amidst the growing anxiety. Loretta, still seated on the pavement, looked up at the encroaching officers with wide, frightened eyes. Michael felt her fear wash over him, a wave of urgency pushing him forward. "Stay strong, Loretta," he urged, his voice steadier now. "They're just men in uniforms. We're the hearts behind this movement." One officer stepped forward, brow furrowed, observing the scene. "What is going on here?" he demanded, voice commanding yet curious. The crowd shifted, unsure whether to rally in Loretta's defense or to retreat in caution. "We're standing for Loretta," Michael declared, capturing the officer's attention. "She's fighting for her family, just like all of us. We won't let our voices be silenced." Grace, emboldened by her father's words, shouted out, "Families belong together." It was a simple phrase, yet it ignited the crowd once more. Voices rallied behind her, and soon cries of solidarity ricocheted off the walls of the buildings surrounding them. The lead officer glanced back at his colleagues, confusion etched on his face. "We're not here to fight you," he replied, adjusting his stance slightly. "We're here to uphold the law. But this isn't a scene we want to escalate." Michael's heart raced, sensing a thin sliver of hope in the officer's words. "Then help us. Listen to Loretta's story." He raised his voice, addressing both the officer and the crowd. "If we could just take a moment, you'll see that we're not here to cause trouble. We're here to stand by a mother who deserves a chance." A soft murmuring rose as the gathered crowd hushed. They leaned in, awaiting the officer's response, each person hanging on the precipice of a decision. "All right," the officer said slowly, "but if this escalates at 1t. Michael interrupted, his own desperation threading through his tone. "We just want to be heard." Loretta wiped her tears again, but this time, determination flickered in her gaze. "I just want a chance to prove I can support my children. I need help, not hostility." The crowd moved almost as one, drawing closer, creating a circle of support around Loretta, and now the officer. Each face reflected hope, anger, and compassion, a universal confluence of human experience. Michael felt a stirring of energy, each heartbeat pulsing with the rhythm of their collective strength. "Let us tell her story," he implored. "Let them see the truth." The officer nodded, his posture loosening. "All right, but let us keep this peaceful. You have 5 minutes." Michael hardly heard the countdown as he turned back to Loretta. "Tell us what you need, Loretta. We're with you." With a deep breath, Loretta raised her head, meeting the eyes of the crowd standing beside her. There was something raw and vulnerable in her voice as she began to recount her struggles, but it was laced with a glimmer of hope. As Michael listened, feeling the weight of the moment, he realized this was just Loretta's story. This was a testament to resilience and love that echoed through every family present. He turned to Grace, her wide eyes bright with purpose, and knew that whatever came next, they were forging a new connection in the community. But then, a sudden shout from the edge of the crowd shattered the intimacy of the moment. "What about the kids?" A new wave of anxiety rippled through the assembly. As Michael felt his heart skip a beat, he turned to see a silhouette pushing through the throng, and a chill washed over him. What if their unified front crumbled in an instant? Every second stretched, drawing attention sharply toward the new confrontation that threatened to derail everything they had built. What was about to unfold could change everything, and all they fought for hung in the balance. As the figure emerged from the crowd, Michael squinted, the noise around him fading into a dull roar. A worried face came into focus, one of the shelter volunteers holding the hands of two small children, their faces marred with confusion and fear. The crowd fell silent, the raw emotion settling over them like a thick fog. "Is this the family?" the volunteer shouted, panic creeping into her voice. "Their mother is in trouble. They need her, and she needs them." Each heartbeat felt like a drum echoing through Michael's chest. He responded, trying to channel the uncertainty into strength. "These kids are part of Loretta's fight." His voice rippled through the crowd, drawing them back together. "We need to ensure they stay together." As Loretta looked at her children, her face transformed from despair to fierce determination. "They need me," she whispered, and then, more resolutely, "I need them." The officer stepped forward, worry etched across his features, grasping the gravity of the moment. "We all want to do what's right here," but his words hung in the air, an invitation for them to engage, not fight. The crowd surged with renewed energy. "Let us show you our strength," Michael called out, his voice strong and commanding. "We're standing together for families. Let us make it known that we fight for all of us." Loretta wiped the determination from her face and stepped to the forefront, solidifying her space. "Yes. This isn't just my battle, this is for every family who has ever felt afraid, every child who has worried about tomorrow." With her words, Michael felt new roots of unity intertwine again, healing the ragged edges of their earlier fears. Inspired by Loretta, locals stood tall, shoulders squared, hearts intertwined like vines growing through cracks in a sidewalk, unyielding in their strength. Emma squeezed his hand as she shouted, "Families belong together." The chant took flight among the gathered crowd, rippling until it was deafening, echoing through the heart of every person standing alongside them. The police officer nodded thoughtfully, taking it all in. "All right," he said, his voice firmer now. "We can work with this." The sirens still wailed in the distance, but somehow the noise felt less threatening now. It became a backdrop to the harmony forming, and in that moment, unity stood in stark contrast against the chaos. Michael turned to Grace, their eyes locking in shared understanding. "Whatever happens next, know this, we're planting seeds of change." Almost instinctively, the crowd began to move, forming a more organized circle, pledging that their voices would not just echo through this moment but resonate beyond. In the days that followed, change blossomed. Michael and Grace took part in discussions alongside community members and leaders, striving for peace and cooperation, forging bonds that broke down walls. They became advocates of real change, ensuring that no mother like Loretta would face the system alone. Grace thrived in this atmosphere of hope and resilience, her laughter spilling over shared meals and stories exchanged amidst neighbors. As for Michael, he found purpose beyond mere success in the boardroom. He began to see the world through the lens of empathy, realizing that fulfillment was found not in wealth, but in community. Weeks later, as sunlight bathed the streets of their neighborhood, they gathered in the park, a melting pot of families standing together. Loretta stood at the front, her children clinging to her side, their future bright. "They say we're stronger together, and today, I believe it," she declared, tears of gratitude shining in her eyes. The crowd erupted in applause, a patchwork of voices harmonizing in acknowledgement. Michael looked at Grace, who stood beside him with a radiant smile, her eyes sparkling with joy. "See, sweetheart. This is what we've worked for. This is love, this is family." And as laughter bubbled around them amid the cheering crowd, he understood that they had woven together a tapestry of hope, no longer just individual strands struggling against the void, but a collective force. Lifted by an undeniable bond, that couldn't be broken. They had transformed darkness into light together, not just for themselves, but for everyone who needed hope. This was their moment, their fight had truly begun. And they would not stop until their community was thriving together. Now, it's your turn to be part of this incredible journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm magic that helps stories like this reach more hearts. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformative journey. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of building up this amazing community through your actions.